Hi there, my name is Glen Groth. My wife Melinda and I farm in southeastern Minnesota near the small town of Ridgway. We raise corn, soybeans, hay, alfalfa, and we raise a few canning crops as well this year. And we also have some dairy heifers. This morning we're going to talk about the science technology involved in nutrient management, which is a fancy way of saying how we decide how much fertilizer to put on. This is important because our impact on the environment is under a lot of scrutiny. We want to be good neighbors, good citizens, and being responsible with nutrients we apply to our field is part of that. The first thing we do every year is we look at our soil test results. Usually in the fall of the year we get soil samples. Take samples of the soil in each individual 2.5 acre section of a farm. It shows us what the individual fertility levels are in each of those 2.5 acre sections of the field. Sometimes they're high in phosphorus, sometimes they're low in potassium, sometimes they're high in all the nutrients, sometimes they're low in a lot of nutrients. But it's the first step in determining how much fertilizer we're going to apply for the year. This usually goes in a computer file because they have GPS coordinates each individual section here, so we know right where the low fertility or the high fertility spot of the field is. Second part of that is looking at our yield maps. As we harvest our crop every year, our combine has GPS, so as it crosses each individual section of the field, the satellites know right where the combine is and how much crop is flowing through the combine in each individual section of the field. And this gives us a map printed out that tells us what the yield level was for each individual section of the farm. We can overlay that on the computer with our soil test results here and kind of see where we were getting high yields, where we're getting low yields, and how that correlates with the high fertility and low fertility parts of the field. Second part of that, we crunch the numbers. We look at all the inputs we had in the field. We look at the fertility levels. We kind of just come with a budget of how much for fertilizer money we want to spend every year on each individual acre. And then we talk with our local co-op agronomists, and we kind of come up with a plan. We look at all the various inputs. We look at the soil test results, and we come up with a plan for each individual section of the field. So when we go to apply fertilizer in the spring, we'll know exactly where to apply the different types of fertilizer. So our co-op agronomist, after we've done that process, will come up with a computer file which he'll upload into the fertilizer application machinery. So when they come out in the spring to apply fertilizer, that GPS will tell right where the fertilizer applicator is in the field, and if that spot in the field needs more fertilizer or less, and the computer controls on the fertilizer applicator will put out more fertilizer or less fertilizer depending on the computer file that has been uploaded into the machine. We think this is the most responsible way to apply fertilizer because we're not over applying in spots that don't need it, we're not under applying in spots which could impact the yield levels. Just decreases the likelihood that we're applying too much and therefore risking having it wash into the waterway or not applying enough to get the maximum yield potential that our crop's genetics allow. Another aspect of nutrient management is manure. If you have livestock, you have to manage manure from that livestock. So we know we have a section of the field that's lower in fertility. We can apply more fertilizer in that spot, and we can apply manure in that spot to augment the fertilizer to bring up the fertility levels of that field. But if we have a spot of the field that's already very high in fertility, we won't apply manure there at all. This is very common in livestock farms, and it's something that we do in our livestock farm to improve the fertility of our whole farming operation. Main concept we're talking about here today are the 4 R's of nutrient management. The right source, right rate, right time, and right place. And having all this technology at our disposal, the GPS mapping, the yield mapping, and sophisticated application equipment allows us to achieve those goals. So thanks for spending a few minutes with us today talking about nutrient management on our farm.